Chris asks, how do you girls stay so grounded in a fake world?
In a fake world.
I don't know. Why is the world gotta be fake?
Yeah. No, the people I surround myself with aren't fake.
Yeah, same.
And who says you guys are grounded?
Yeah, exactly.
We might be batshit crazy, you just don't know. If I were to answer that question, I would also say family. We are family for each other. Obviously, we're sisters, and we're very close with our family, and nothing happens that doesn't slide by our dad or our mom, and they keep us in check, and we keep each other in check, and yeah.
And that's also cool. Not feeling entitled. Like, I think that's something we're really surrounded by, especially in the dance music realm. There are so many DJs who have this entitled aura, and you can see it online and in person.
There's so much like subtext to what you're saying right now.
And it almost is implying that there's this like hierarchy of like what kind of like value you bring and why that's more valuable than other careers or other realms in art. And I think back to what even the first question when you're saying what made you pop off or something, like I actually never really felt like we popped off. I never really felt like we made it, and I don't think I think the day I really feel like Cruella made it is when I'm gonna lose that hunger. And I think we have to constantly remind ourselves to understand our value and our worth and to acknowledge our achievements as artists, but not to let that hinder us from, you know, having that hunger to work every day, to go to the studio every day, to say yes to opportunities. Because the second you start saying like, no, I'm good, you know,
we made it.
Exactly.
Or I'm too good.
Yeah.
What do you think?
For them?
Or just about the game, right? Like, where do you think, actually, well, I've got you for another second, and like, where is the current state of EDM in your guys' opinion? Like, you know, obviously it was a space that, like, I don't know, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, most people didn't know about. I still think there's a lot of people who are watching who are 40, 50-year-old marketing dudes that have no idea what this space is and they're going to Google it. But obviously, when you start talking to a 35 and under demo in America, and obviously in Europe and other places, it's been huge. Like, everybody at this point already knows it. It's like so interesting to, like, it's really, to me, the thing that is most followed hip-hop as a new genre that didn't really exist before. And I'm curious for you guys who are much closer to it, like, where is it in its life cycle? Just starting, hitting an interesting time, like, it's become dramatically more mainstream than it was 5, 6 years ago. Like, what's your kind of point of view on it?
I think it's plateaued. I think it's hit the climax, but I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. It's just branched off in so many different directions. There's so many different subgenres. There's new artists coming through every day. Guys like Skrillex and Diplo are doing a great job of co-signing younger talent, bringing them up through the system. And there's the difference between it now and what it was, you know, 15 years ago was how much corporate backing there is. I mean, you see it with the brands for sure all the time and how badly they want to be involved with these entities. And the biggest, you know, throwers of festivals in the world, these biggest entertainment companies of the world, have put so much money into making sure that it's going to stay where it is and keep growing.
Ladies?
It's hard for me to comment on this because I do feel like we've never quite belonged in the EDM world.
Okay.
And so it's hard for me to look at us as even still a part of it, even though I know that it's kind of one foot in the door, one out for us.
Okay.
We've always tried to maintain our own lane while still, again, keeping one foot in the EDM world.
Understand.
I think that that's probably a good thing for us because, like Jake said, I agree. I think it's plateaued, and we have this amazing opportunity to take ourselves on a completely different lane and pave our own way.
Do our own thing.
Yeah, it's cool.
I think like a lot of what we're talking about when you're talking about like depression with a lot of these young entrepreneurs, maybe feeling let down that they can't really achieve the success that they've been hyped up to achieve. What do you think like our society being a more and more fame obsessed society has to do with us, that especially with social media?
I think I think the whole 15 minutes of fame has become everybody's famous to 15 people. You know, you've got an entire generation of young teens right now that take 45 minutes to take a selfie because they want to get the lighting right, and they post it on Instagram. If it doesn't get enough likes, they take it down right away. Like peer pressure and like, you know, like the way I've never been more obsessed with I have a 7 and 4-year-old. Like instilling self-esteem into them is everything because they're going to need it really big because the market's going to push back on every one of their flaws. I think we're living through a really interesting time. I really do. I think there's a lot of things happening at once. This is not a very simple issue where it's just like social media. I think parents, I'm 40, parents of my generation that grew up during great times you know, we're not our parents or our great-grandparents' generation where they fought wars and the Depression and things of that nature. We've had so much prosperity that I think if you look at every empire, that when things are good for too long, people become soft. And I think that's what's happening. I think we're soft. And I think, you know, coming from immigrant DNA, like you guys, it's easier for me to see it. Like, I just think we're soft, and I think that, and I think that I don't want to add to it. As a very positive, optimistic, rah-rah, crush it, anybody can do it guy, I want to also at least have the other part of the equation, which is, of course, hard work, of course, talent, and of course, like, look, there's so much going on in the world right now. I think we're all sensitive to a lot of different things that are happening. Like, you never know when prosperity can end. It ends in a blink, and so I'm thankful for the way it is. I do not think kids being stuck in their cell phones all day is a bad thing. I don't think that's ruining them. I think technology is eating the world, and I think it's going to be more of that. I think that when you guys first started doing shows to compare to now, if you think about phone usage at your shows when you guys are standing there, I'm curious what you think of like what's going on down there, because that's just their norm. Like, I love when people, you know, that, do you guys see that picture of like the 90-year-old woman that was in the crowd when the Pope came and everybody took a photo and she didn't, and everybody made a big deal about that? You did. Did you see this?
No, yeah.
You saw it? Didn't see it? You guys see it? You see it?
Pretty profound.
So there was a photo like 6 months ago when the Pope came to the US, I think, like that everybody made a big deal about, which is everybody's taking a photo of it, and she's just standing, she's like 90, and she's just standing there, and everyone's like, she's a hero. And literally, I take a reverse view on it. I'm like, I feel bad for her because she's old and she probably already forgot about that moment, whereas everybody else recorded it. And I know it's a funny
That's age discrimination.
Yeah, no, of course it's age discrimination. I'm trying to make a zings joke. I'm sure she remembers it. I have no idea who she is. But I think that change is tough. In the same way that staying to music, both hip hop and EDM, one foot in, one foot out, both of those genres had nothing but haters in the beginning saying that's not real music. And I just don't like when people impose their thoughts. Like, just because kids are communicating this way doesn't mean that millennials are introverted. And I love when all my old friends, and when I say old, I mean 35-year-olds, say that these kids can't hold a real conversation because they're happening here. Meanwhile, these same kids spoke to the same 6 people their entire childhood because they didn't have the outlet to different people, different things. These kids are much more worldly. They know a lot more. And so I don't think anything is bad. I'm pretty much an optimist that way. But I am worried about depression because I do think way more scary to me than living a public life and fame obsession is parents telling their kids things that aren't realistic. I do think that like we have to train our generation to deal with adversity, and I don't think getting a trophy. I do not think that if you come in fucking last place that your team should be cheering and celebrated and given trophies. They should be looked at like, you guys suck shit, you lost.
Don't you think that this is...
I really believe that's healthy.
But the advice to the entrepreneur to push through and to...
These guys are going out of business. Do you understand what's going to happen?
So
99% of these...
one.
It's not an opportunity to get better.
On to the next one. Of course it is.
Keep going. You people out there, keep going.
Yes, of course keep going. But if you are not self-aware, if you kept rapping, my man, you would not be as happy as you are today.
Agreed.
So now go tell them to keep going when they were delusional.
You'll figure it out. Keep going.
That was the moment. That's the bottom line. You understand? But yes, keep going. Keep evolving.
Yes.
But blindly going that I'm going to be Eminem isn't going to work.
But if you don't do that, you'll never figure it out. So like if I hadn't put all that time and energy into that, I wouldn't have understood how to market recording artists today.
That's a very different thing than keep evolving and being self-aware and understanding your strengths and weaknesses to create the next opportunity versus what people normally hear when you hear keep going, which is if I just keep putting in more hours, eventually I'm going to put out a song.
I think
that's not what you did. You didn't keep just putting out songs.
I did until something else, but if I hadn't kept going, if I would have stopped, those thousands and thousands of times people told me I couldn't do it.
But please understand this conversation and re-look back at it. You adjusted to a different opportunity off those learnings. That is not what people hear.
That's keep going though.
By your definition.
Yes.
But I'm telling you right now, that's not what people hear. When people hear keep going, they think they're going to break through in the thing that they... Do you know everybody wants to be a famous singer, a famous athlete, and a famous actor. And if that person keeps acting instead of becoming a director, which is maybe the skill set they have, they're going to lose.
So I think what you're saying, keep going, stay focused, but be open to reinventing yourself along the way.
Be self-aware. It's my favorite part of this. It's what I jumped on earlier. If you actually know yourself, you can win so much more. Just this blind faith that everybody's entitled to this level of success is ludicrous. because most people don't want to work hard enough, most people don't have enough talent, and the math has proven that that's not the case. The bottom of the 1% earners in America, the top 1% earners, the bottom of that make $400,000 a year. If you go talk to every 15 to 22-year-old, they don't even conceive anything being short of a millionaire, of making $1 million a year. But the data shows only 1% of our US society make $400,000 or more, and that makes them one of the top 1%. We have not had the proper conversation. For every one of you guys, there are 50,000 groups that didn't make it, and it wasn't because they gave up 1 year too early. They just weren't talented enough. That's what I believe.